Hello, this is Elder Elbeth Machette. I want to speak about the black community now. Um, One thing I notice when you go to every black neighborhood, you find so many churches. You find some that are mega churches, about two mega churches in, uh, when I say mega church, fits over maybe 5,000. Then another one fits about 8,000 members. Then you have what you call smaller churches or big churches that fit maybe about 2,000 people. That's also a mega church, smaller mega churches. Then you have other ones that fit perhaps 1,000 members in that church. Then it goes to smaller ones that fit about, let's say, 500. You have a lot of that. I mean, a plethora. Talk about like uncountable, maybe about 500 churches between there in a neighborhood, maybe between 2 and 500 that fit around 500 members. Then you have those that have about 200 members, to about in the hundreds, and hundreds that have about maybe 200 members. Then you have those with 50 members or less. Thousands of them. There's so much churches. Thousands, right? And when you put them all together, you really have, you really have maybe probably about 7,000 or more, 8,000 people in them churches, maybe more than that. Now, that's even counting the smaller the churches that have about 20 people or 50 people and below. We have, an innumerable amount of churches in the black neighborhood with 50 people and below. Yet, and let's not even count them churches, because them churches usually the people there are very poor. The pastor's poor and everybody else in that church poor. But let's say those churches that have about 500 members, from 200 to 500 members and up. It's a lot of them. Now, when you look at that whole community, and you'll find out what that community or neighborhood stands for, because you cannot have a community unless you own and control. If you don't own nothing in that community, really just a neighborhood. A neighborhood is somewhere where you go and sleep. A hotel is a neighborhood. But a community is where you own it and control it. Now, we say that we serve Jesus. We say that you give your money to the pastor and you will be highly blessed and favored of the Lord. But when you look at that community, the people that serve that or that are in that community, let's say the outsiders, you'll find out they're the ones that are blessed. For example, the Indians, they own all the gas stations, right? The Indians own the gas stations and control the hotels. All the hotels in almost every black neighborhood is owned by Indians. Maybe in some you have one or two, maybe one that's black, and majority of the time it's none. All of the gas stations that have gas stations that have groceries are owned by East Indians. Then you go and you look at the Arabs. The Arabs, they control the grocery stores. That's what they do. They control the grocery stores. And the Dominicans, the white Dominicans, they control also some of the grocery stores. And the Arabs control the grocery stores, and they sell you liquor the Muslims, but they sell you liquor, and they sell you pork, and they sell you blunts. Then you go down to the Koreans, and they sell you your hair, and even the Arabs are into that too. They sell our women their hair, their wigs, their extensions, and the Koreans and the Arabs sell our women their hair. Then you go down to the Chinese. The Chinese got food stores in every corner. In every corner they have a Chinese takeout. Then let's go back to the Koreans. If there's a small Caribbean community, they're black, but a small Caribbean community, the Koreans sell them their herbs, their spices, and all the Caribbean foods that they buy. Now, I said the Chinese, right? I said the Chinese. In every store, in every corner, they have a Chinese takeout place. Then you go to the Italians. The Italians, they have all the pizzeria in Chicago and New York and every black neighborhood and you say Hispanic or Puerto Rican neighborhood or Caribbean neighborhood, they got Italian or pizza. Then you go to the Jews. The Jews, they control the money. They don't want to lend the money, whether it's lend and loan or all those places where you go and change your check, or you could borrow some money from them. You know, like Amscot in Florida. And you got Chase Manhattan Bank, and all the other banks in our communities are owned by them. So you see all of them outsiders, all of them have set up shop in the black community. But one thing, when you look at the black church, they have more churches than all the people over there put together. Now you look at the Koreans, they're also Christian, but you don't see their churches all through there. They have one church or two there that they go to. The Arabs, they're mostly Muslims. Even though a lot of them don't practice Islam, but they come from the background of Islam, Muslims. They have about two mosques in the city, about two mosques in that area. Then you look at the East Indian, they are Hindus. All of them are Hindus or Muslims, and mostly Hindus. And they'll turn around, they go and they have their little Hindu temples in different places in the city, sometimes in the nicest part of the black city, and they congregate there. And then you go to the Chinese, they got usually two temples, the Buddhist temple and some other temple named Shinto. I don't know what it is. They practice martial arts there. They have their little thing there. They have two of them. And that's it. You go to the black neighborhood, they're somewhere in the corner, somewhere in the side, in a nice little area that they kind of buy. And they built a little temple there. You can tell it's Chinese because the way it's built. And all of them just have about one or two. That's it, one or two. Yet they control all of the businesses in the black community. And even those that come from the Caribbean that we say they're not white, they also really are white descendants of white colonialists in the Caribbean. So you have all of these people there that have the different God, because the Italians are Catholics, right? The Indians are either Muslims or most of them Hindus, and they worship a lot of gods. They have a lot of gods. They have over 1,000 gods, and their main god is, I believe, I forgot the name of their main god, but it's the father of all their gods. And they have a lot of flags. You go in their businesses, and they have a Buddha there, or they have the little 8-armed god. It looks like an elephant, have an elephant face with a human body. And you notice that all the gods of ancient time, they have a human head, or they have a animal head in a human body, or they have a animal body in a human head. That's demonic. That's the infusion between animal and humans. And that's what they worship. Now the Muslims, they're monolithic, but they don't believe like the born again believers. Now you go to the Christian churches, they got churches everywhere. I should say the born again believer. Because many, like the Italians, like the Catholics or the Dominicans, which are Catholics, they're not born again. They don't believe like the born again believers. Like most of the black community are Baptists or Pentecostals, and they believe practically the same. So now, we're told in the church that the only way you can be blessed is if you worship Jesus. You give your money to the church, you give your money to the pastor tells you, if you don't tithe, you're cursed with a curse. You tithe, you give your money, you're there all the time. Most of the churches got thousands of dollars, thousands. I'm talking about the one that got $500 and up. 500 members and up. And depending, because you got some churches that got 500 members, but only maybe 200 give tithes and offering, because the rest of them ain't got no money to give. And the church is surviving on 200 people, even though they got 500. And out of those 200 people, only maybe about 50 or 60 got good jobs, and the rest of them don't. So even if they have 500, they're still kind of, they're in between there, but they're still doing good. Enough to make a difference, right? And they give sacrificial offerings. And they have these special services that they have for 2 weeks straight. Sometimes even a month straight, collecting money every day. Sometimes they have revivals, where they call it revivals, where 2 or 3 churches come together, or conventions where a whole bunch of churches in a single organization come together. And they drop off thousands of dollars. Yet, those other groups that worship other gods control the whole community with their business. They control the politics, they control the economics, they control the politicians, they control everything in that neighborhood. They even tell you to get out of their stores when they don't want you there. They even tell you not to hang out in front of their stores. They even tell you what you can do and cannot do in your neighborhood, in your country, and they're foreigners. Yet, with all these churches there, and with all this Jesus, and you're supposed to be above all the people because you're so holy and sanctified, yet you don't control your own neighborhood. So when you look at it from the natural perspective, it looks like their religion is better than yours, because they're a minority in your community, and yet they control and behave like the majority in your own neighborhood. They behave like the majority. They own all the stores. They own all the grocery stores. They own all the hair shops. They own all the restaurants. When you want to go out, as a matter of fact, after service, when you come out, you don't go to a black restaurant, you go to a Chinese restaurant. You go to the Italian restaurant, or what they call in New York, we used to call them, I forgot what you call them, but anyway, Italians are very good at this. They got in between the white neighborhood and the black neighborhood, mainly more closer to the black neighborhood, the diners. There you go, the diners. They go in the diners from Greeks. They're owned by not Italian, Greeks. By Greeks. So the Greeks own the diners in the black neighborhoods, like they're literally a little bit outside of the black neighborhood. You just take about 5-minute drive and you're at the diner. So they're mostly like in the busy section, not in the residential areas, but in the business areas. In other words, in the main strip. And after church, we go to the diner. Or we go to the all-buffet Chinese. The Chinese have the takeout and they have the big restaurants of buffets. And yet, all of us, after praising Jesus and saying that we are blessed, saying that we're highly favored of the Lord and giving all our money to the church for a whole year, we still cannot even go and dine at a black buffet. When you go get your gas to go back home, you got to go to the Indians. When you're hungry, before you go to church, you got to go to the Indians that own the Dunkin' Donuts, or you have to go to the Arabs to get your little orange juice, right, and your coffee. Or when you want to do your hair to go to church and you want to go fly, whoa, you want to go, if you're a woman, you want to wear that do, you want to wear that hair, you want to look good, you got to go to the Koreans or the Arabs. All of your necessity, all the bishop said, you're going to get a house. Whoa, he prophesied, you're going to get a house. So you drive down to the bank, owned by the Jews, white Jews, not African Jews, but European Jews, to get the money for your house or for your car. Or white Americans in our neighborhoods, they'll sell the cars. So now you got all of these foreigners, all these people in your neighborhood, and you got more churches than they do, and yet you are the one that's struggling. They get rich off of you, and they pay you no tithe. Now check this out. You in the community, right? Detroit, Chicago, New York, and whatnot, and whatever city you can think of where the majority of people are black in that city, whether it's a small town, a big city, or whatever. The foreigners, they set up the shops there. They make up to $6 million, $6 million a year, the Arabs, of the grocery stores in the corner. The Koreans selling you nonsense, selling you little $5 umbrellas and little gadgets that are worthless, just garbage. They make literally $1 million a year selling you garbage. Then the people that sell hair, God knows how much money they make as a big business all over the United States. And some of the Koreans have said that 100% of their money come from black folks. And they block black people too from selling hair to black folks. If they find out that you're selling hair to black folks, even though to your own people, they will call the politicians on you. Because they have a contract or they have a deal with the United States, where the United States told them, you can sell hair. They blocked the Chinese. Chinese wanted to do it. They said, no, we don't want the Chinese. We want the Koreans to sell hair here to black people. That's what's going on. Okay. The Arabs, they're a little bit more open because they will hire black folks. But all the other people, not one of them will hire black people. Not one of them. The Arabs, they hire black people. Matter of fact, my wife works for one of them. And they don't pay much. You can't survive on what they pay. Sometimes I can't understand how black people will put up with getting paid $200 a week. I don't know how they do it. Now, I understand some folks got to do it because they just came to this country, or maybe they didn't have no opportunity. But this time and age, you should be going to school, doing something. You should not sit there and put up with getting paid $200 a week. No, I couldn't do it. You can't survive. Now, you have all these churches there. Some of them got literally millions of dollars in the bank, in white banks, the same Jewish banks. Every Sunday they're putting $10,000 in the bank. I know churches in Columbus, Ohio that have put $10,000 in the bank every Sunday. I read an article, I think on Facebook, where it says that in a matter of 5 years, the churches have picked up $460 billion from tithes and offering. And you got some churches, especially in Brooklyn, New York, that the blacks that go there are millionaires. Millionaires, like Ron DMC, like the rappers. Like Bernard Jordan. His members, they're black and they're all millionaires. He got some billionaires in there. And yet, with all of that, and then you got some cities that when I drive through the highway, I travel from highway to highway all through the South. And sometimes within 10 miles, you see three mega churches, black mega churches through the black neighborhood. And each of them look like they fit about 5,000 people. And you telling me you got a big in church, it's a business. Because it's dealing with money. You paying a man to explain or to the scriptures to you if he's a teacher. And or if he's a motivational speaker or a preacher, called a preacher, you paying him so that he can motivate you in the faith. His job, and most black pastors do not work. They don't have no businesses. All they do is just drive around all day. They get paid to study the Bible and then come to you and explain the Bible to you and give you information, right? And then inspiration so you can keep on going. But many times the information they give you, it don't really value, just give you an emotional get high. But after they collect all the money from the smaller churches, collecting about maybe, let's say, 50,000 a year, some of them 100, 300,000 a year, some of them in the millions, that's in the same city, and many of them in the thousands. You telling me that none of them churches can invest in the community by providing jobs, businesses? Oh, let's talk about the laundromats. The laundromats are the Koreans or the Filipinos, depending where you go. And then sometimes, which I don't really count this, the Mexicans. They have some big restaurants. The white Mexicans got some big restaurants that when you want to take your wife out to a nice dinner or you meet a girl at the church, you take her to the Mexican restaurant and you sit her there and some of the plates be costing up to $50. Just one. And all of them restaurants, all of them businesses make millions of dollars of the same church folks. But yet none of them people there and the pastors there can come up with the idea to control the neighborhood so that his people can benefit from them. Yet, all them other people, now you let me know this, why all them people that have different gods than you are doing better than you? Yet, you say every Sunday you're speaking in tongues, you're prophesying or prophesying, whatever the choice is. You sit in there having churches that when you walk in there, it seems like that God walked in the room. Literally walked in the room. Some of them preachers are so skilled at preaching and so anointed that when they preach, it's actually like God is walk in the room with them, walk in the church. You're falling out, rolling over, prophesying here, prophesying there. But yet when you walk outside of the building and you hit reality, everybody that's getting rich of you and that you feel your God is higher than theirs, they're doing better than you. Because after the pastor collected all, that one man collected all that offering and puts it in his coffers, then you take the rest of the money you got and you give it to all of these little individuals. Give it to the Koreans, give this, and all of these people, and the Chinese, and the Arabs, and the white Dominican, and all of these people get rich off you. And guess what? All of them are blessed. Yeah. They're blessed because of you. And remember the scripture that says, your fall is their blessing. Your fall is their blessing. That's what Apostle Paul said. So how much more will be when you rise up? Because we are the people of God, we're the Jews. And because we don't know who we are, we just see ourselves as just not even a color. Because we've been taught, don't see yourself as black. We're not black. We just saved. That foolishness. But then, guess what? With all of that church you have, they only have 2 worship temples, and they're not even churches. The Koreans, some of them are Christians, okay, but they got maybe 1 church, and they all go to that church in that city. And all the Jews have all them churches, over probably 1,500 churches, not including the mosques, because a lot of us are Muslims too. And with all of that church, all that hollering, all that hallelujah, all that you're blessed and better than blessed, and rolling on the floor, laying of hands, and falling out. When you come out, you're still going to work for other people and spend your money with other people. And the only person that's getting your money out of your people is the pastor. And that church is doing nothing for the community, but it's giving you a place to escape from reality. That's all if you really look at it. Church is a place to escape from reality. But I'm not knocking it because I'm a church man too. It strengthens you spiritually. Really what that means is that you stay in the faith. You keep believing the same thing because you're around believers that keep on strengthening your faith. But every other area of your life stays the same. Unless you decide that you want to be a pastor. And if you're fortunate, you with a pastor that was successful that will help you. But then it goes back to the same thing because all you learn. You go, collect money, put it in the bank, and that's it. And yet all the people that go to your church, to the church, they all remain the same year after year after year. They started as little kids in the church. They grow old and they die and they're still broke. They still have no political power. They still get abused. They still get killed by the cops. We still get murdered by the cops. Still get pulled over every chance we get. Sometimes you're scared. You hope the cop will pull you over from the time you leave your house to the church and back from the church to your house. And you have to pass, some people have to pass all full of drug addicts and pimps and prostitutes going to church. Because even though the church looks beautiful on the outside, in the inside outside is hell. Pure hell. Some people, you go into church, you escape reality. It's so beautiful in there. They got about 500 members and they get in there and it's like you went to heaven. But when you come out of the church, you got to worry somebody broke in your car. Why? I'll tell you why. Because you don't control nothing around there. And you're not trying to control nothing around there. But the people that control the businesses in your community who don't have your God, they live good. Oh, they live good. Because if you are making $6 million a year selling to black folks, you don't live with black folks. You're not putting your money in black folks' hands because you don't buy nothing from black folks because they don't produce nothing but religion. And you don't have their religion because you're Hindu. You don't tie to them because you're a Muslim. So they're becoming wealthy off of you and prosperous because you preach the prosperity message, right? That big prosperity message that was going on for 12 years that nobody prospers but the Koreans, the Chinese, the Arabs, and everybody else, and the Jews, and everybody else but you. You look prosperous, but you're not prosperous because your bank accounts are empty. Yeah, they're empty. And the pastor who's supposed to be superior than all other people, he's the only one that has money. And many times something happens, his church break up, and he loses everything he has. And therefore, here you have a religion that's supposed to empower you. Because we say that being with Jesus is having power. I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. Yet the only ones getting blessed that you can see physically getting blessed, according to the way we believe, is the Koreans and everybody else. They're the only ones. So it seems in the natural that their God is greater than your God. Because when you've been preaching prosperity all those years, the other people, they're not preaching prosperity, and you telling in the church telling you the only way you're going to be blessed is by giving to your pastor. Yet at the same time, the only one that you see naturally getting blessed is all the other foreigners who don't have your God. Now, can somebody please explain that to me? And what I see is because we preach faith. We preach something that we don't practice physically. We don't put it into practice. And it's deeper than that because the people don't have the money. Coming together, right? Unity, uniting with each other. We say we got to come together, right? We say our prosperity, we will never prosper unless we come together. All those people, they prosper because they come together. Matter of fact, they work together. So the Koreans and the Arabs, the Koreans all work together. But then the Koreans turn around and they gang up with the Arabs against the blacks. They do. They all work together. Even the Indians and the Arabs, they work together. They work in harmony. Sometimes they have businesses together, and 95% of the money they make is from us. They sell to each other, right? And then they sell to us. So they have a double income. They have the money that they use, that they sell to each other, and then they live of the money they make from us. So the money they make from each other, they put it in the bank, and they live of the money they make from us, or the opposite. The money they make from each other, they live off that, or they save that, and they live or save the money that they make from us, which is millions. So they have a double income in their own businesses. Meanwhile, we only have one income, and that's working for them, or working for them, if they will hire us. So we only have one income, and if they fire us, hey, they can't get fired. Because first of all, we're not going to fire them. I don't care how much they treat us, especially our women. Our women, it doesn't matter how bad they treated, they will go back. Women don't care about their community too much. You got few of them. We got some few powerful ones. One or two or three that are more powerful than even the men. But the majority of women don't care about their own community. They don't love each other. Because if they did, when they hear that one of them mistreat one of us, they will go. They wouldn't go. Now, check this out. But you still have needs. That's the thing. And if you have needs and wants, and all of them, and the only place you can go is to them, because our people don't have nothing. But when we talk about unity, now this came to my mind. We talk about unity. How do we unite? We got people that are working with unity. But they got to work hard. Because they're not doing it through the prism of religion. You got Dr. Claude Anderson, Dr. Boyce Watkins. You got another guy named Phil News, or the True News. Not True News, the Advice Show. And many other brothers. And you have an African lady called Dr. Mumbi. You get a lot of information from her. She's in Africa, in Kenya. Right? But right here, you got another one called the Nubian Queen. You got all these different people, especially Claude Anderson and Dr. Boyce Watkins. They give valuable information on how to come together, and they're actually doing it. Right? But the pastors, they got the religion. And most of us and imams, they have the religion. We are religious people. We are spiritual people. The biggest, fastest way to get most of us together is through religion. If you want to unite us, just come with some belief about Islam or Christianity. And you will see millions of us come together. Look at Farrakhan. Farrakhan pulled 2 million of us. And the only reason why he did it was because he's a religious leader. Now, all the other people, all they need is a political leader, like whites. White Americans, a political leader will rally all of them. They'll come in the millions behind some political leader, not us. I don't care who it is. He got to have reverend in front of his name. Right? Okay, nothing wrong with that. That's your culture. But check this out. You got T.D. Jakes. You got Noel Jones. T.D. Jakes got maybe 30,000 or more members. You have Noel Jones got probably over 10,000 members. And those are just people that go to their churches. Then people got probably even a bigger following outside of their churches. Don't you think that is unity right there? That's unity right there. That's unity. In Columbus, Ohio, I know churches that got 5,000 people right in the church. New York City, you got churches that got 10,000 people. You got churches that got 5,000 people. Black churches. That's unity. And those people come religiously. Religiously. They're not just religious. They come there religiously. That's their life. You can't, I don't care what you do, you ain't going to cut them off. That's why I think it's a waste of time when I see this conscious community come preaching against Christianity. I mean, if you knew what I knew, you are wasting your time. I mean, you're literally wasting your time, especially with those that go into the deepness of spirituality within the Christian religion or the Christian faith. I'm talking about they go deep into the spirituality. When they go into this casting out demons and putting the Holy Ghost on you, and you ain't gonna stop that. They believe they can cast devils out. They can believe they can pray the Holy Ghost in you, and they're gonna pray for you. You're gonna fall out, and they're gonna proclaim miracles and proclaim, and they're gonna wave their hand, and you're gonna fall out. Listen, you will never get them out of that. As a matter of fact, the only way to get them out of it is to kill them. And you don't have the heart to do that like the Muslims do in the Middle East. You ain't gonna do that. And that's not like 2 or 3 of them. Like it was 2 or 3 of them. What I mean, like, a couple of few thousands, then I could see you might be able to get him out of that. But I'm talking, this is in the millions. There's what, like 50 million blacks in America? This is literally like 40, nearly like 30 million of them doing this. 30 million. How you gonna stop 30 million? Coming from California all the way down to the South. The Baptist, the Church of God in Christ. Got over 100,000 members. That's unity right there. 100,000 steady members. We talk about the Black Baptist. They got hundreds of thousands in the churches, almost the whole South. Oh, you ain't gonna stop that. But we could use that to unite together. Oh, you got a big organization in New York, the Refuge Temple. They got thousands. PAW, whoa, maybe 50,000 members or more. You ain't gonna stop nothing. Those people are hardcore. They spend thousands and thousands of dollars every month to buy new dresses to go to church. That's a lifestyle. Okay, they gonna show out. That's their whole life. That's where they ball at. That's, you know what I'm saying. That's it. There's a lot of the whole inspiration is becoming the bishop. That's their whole goal in life, to be the bishop, to be a pastor in those big organizations. They get a little position like a deacon or elder. In their mind, it's the same thing as being the getting a promotion, a big promotion in a big company in the white world. and they're not even getting paid. So you're not going to stop nothing. But that's the key, unity. And we could use that zeal to unite unity. But the problem is we don't see it. And the church, with all that money there, they can literally control their own destiny and their community. Instead of preaching about destiny, we go on to your next destiny. What's that? Without no money. When you can sit there and buy laundromats, and everybody in the church, in the community, goes and washes their clothes in the black laundromat owned by the church. And the church sell it to some of the members. Or some of the members come and put up a little money, the church put the rest. They could put up 50,000, maybe a few $1 million, $20 million, and take over the whole hair industry from the Caribbeans. From the Koreans. Take over all the grocery stores. Buy some of the grocery stores. Some of them Arabs are struggling. They are. Some of them are struggling. They're doing good, a lot of them, but they look like they're struggling, but you'd be surprised. Some of them that look like they're struggling are really doing real good. And some of them really want to get out of there, but they can't get out of there. You give them some money, you buy from them, you take it over. Or you buy some of the abandoned buildings and you fix it up. The church could really come together, and could be a tool to come together, and they and literally change the whole outcome of black people. Imagine T.D. Jakes takes $10 million. Noel Jones put down $5 million. That's $15 million. Creflo Dollar take another $10 million. And they all pick a city. And then you work with the smaller pastors to look for all the little stores around there. And that'd be a blessing to the church. The churches they have employees. The churches own a lot of stuff. And they have employees working there, paying them a full salary because the business will pay it. And the bigger churches will take the big chunks, build banks. But the problem is that the white man has come up with a powerful strategy. This is what he came up with. Don't you do nothing for yourself. Don't worry about it. I got you. Don't worry about working. Don't worry about buying nothing. We'll let you be part of us. We already have everything established. And whenever blacks went to build anything, like the Black Wall Street, they tore it down. They blew it up just to teach them a lesson. But blacks give up very easily because, hey. So now, here they come and tell you, if you don't strive to do for yourself, we will do for you. We'll let you be part of our club, the Democratic Party, the Liberal Party. And blacks, with all that money, they're waiting on the Liberal Party to serve the problems of their community. So this is when you go to the scripture, it says, you have no shepherd. My God. They have no shepherd. And without a vision, the people perish. And the people were without a shepherd. You can say you're a shepherd of what? When you really, where you leading them to? You're not leading them to prosperity. You taking their money, putting it in your pocket, in a bank, in a white man's bank. Because if you had any vision, you will make a meeting. So some people, they have an excuse. They ain't gonna listen to me. Or they gonna really, because you don't want to do it. If you have influence, the uncle's gonna send a little pastor, they got 50 members. Nobody really will listen to him. But when you somebody that got over 2,000 members, they gonna listen to you. Somebody will. Even if you get other pastors that got the same members like you or a little smaller, you come together, have a board meeting, and do exactly what the white man does. Now, the problem is that many times we want to be like them. We want to act like them, but we want to take their bad ways. We hoop and we holler. We see the white men on hoop and holler, the white pastors, so now we think something wrong with that. So we don't want to hoop and holler no more. They walk around with the Bible open, in the pulpit, reading it and talking. So now you was in hot on fire, and nobody can preach like you. But now you just want to sit there and just walk around the pulpit like they do. You want to imitate now what they do. They have a couple of singers there where everybody just listen to the singers. Now you come around and instead of having a mass participation of the whole church, now you have entertainers. You pattern yourself after them. But why you don't take the business practices? When the Europeans, white American, whenever they establish a church anywhere, they're going to own and control everything around them. And many times they don't have no money. What they do, they go to the politicians and they put money in the politicians. Say, listen, this is what I want done. I want everything around here. I want the bars closed. I want the crack house closed. I want the beer store closed. I want the liquor store closed. And I want to own everything around here. And they do it. With us, it's different. The pastor is not even thinking about that. Because in his mind, he be trained. That's not his problem. That's the Democrats' problem. Unsaved, demonic people. They're more preoccupied with ruling the world than our people. You don't understand how powerful those Democrats are. They rule the world. They push homosexuality everywhere. Look at Obama, how he went to Kenya telling them that they should and must give rights to the homosexuals. In the Caribbean, everywhere they go. The Democrats push Satan's agenda everywhere. Everywhere. So if they are trying to rule the world and bring the world under one government, the Liberal Party, right? Do you think they have time to solve our problem? No, we just there as a support team. We are peanuts. We just there as a support team. Keep us in power. Push our local agenda: homosexuality, women's league, women's rights, the rights for other colored people, for the Mexicans, and you just a support team. And all we're gonna do is give you a couple of jobs. And we go for that. And then we walk around saying that black people are not united. I want to take a pastor that have over 2,000 members and tell me that black people are not united and slap him with the Bible right in his face. How you going to tell me you got to be stupid and blind, dumb, deaf, and blind? Like the 5% says, dumb, deaf, and blind. You got to be. You got over 2,000 members that will do whatever you say. And pastors all around the city that want to be just like you, and pastors admiring you and looking to you for leadership. And you got other pastors bigger than you that respect you, and you telling me that we have no unity? Under what basis? It is so bad that even many of the black people who don't go to church, they really think we're not united. And they don't even count the church. They don't even count the church because you counted yourself out. Literally counting yourself out. You got thousands of souls that come to church to praise God. And you raise all that money. And you telling me you're not united? All you got to do is take some of that money and make a plan to do business. And then, and whenever you have a plan that doesn't entail you will succeed. Because anytime you want to do something to build your people for other people, you will always have strength. That's what Jesus Christ is all about. Blessing other people, helping other people. But no, everything got to do for you. See? So now, tell everybody else in the world, everybody else, that your God is greater than their God, but it looks like their God, with their God, they got this stuff together. You, your God, you ain't got your stuff together. Many times when you follow these pastors, you become poor. You go from being a man to be less than a man. You go from being strong to being weak. You go to be able to literally do for yourself. You become an armor bearer and you become like a little punk, a faggot. I'm just saying. But then our God is greater than their God. But they got themselves together and we don't. I leave it with that, my friend. And I hope I can inspire you and you can see where I'm coming from.